Hello, my wonderful, beautiful, amazing people out there. Welcome to Psychobabble101. My name is Graciela Morcillo and I can't wait to explore the world of emotions with you. In every episode, we will discuss words that express a culturally unique way of feeling, with guests of different backgrounds, because what I feel is not necessarily what you feel. Different folks, different feelings. Let's start babbling.
All right, actually,
We're talking English. That's what we're talking.
That's what we do.
English. And that's how we
That's
start
how we
our
roll.
wonderful podcast episode this time. Or not? Well,
Yes.
yeah, let's start like this. So, hello everybody. Welcome back. Again, to my right side. You can't see it, but he is on my right side. Tim Reichel, my best friend. Hottest bitch in town in Berlin. And this equally hot bitch on the other side of my left side. So
Yeah.
Vince, I really want you, all of you, check out his YouTube channel, Plop. They're amazing. Different interviews as well. And he has also a podcast, right?
Yes, it's called the Quarter Life Podcast, and we talk about all the things revolving around the life in the 20s, all the struggles, because the struggle is real.
Rio.
It is. It definitely is. Otherwise, we wouldn't be sitting here
Exactly.
talking about our emotions. Mother soul alone. That's our emotion today. Well, we are the three of us, we are German, right?
Right.
Very German.
Right, we
Very
are very German. So, what was your first? No, okay. What was your first impression, or what's the first thing that comes up in your mind when you think of Mutterseelenallein, Mother Soul Alone?
Do you want me to go first?
Yeah, you go first.
Okay, so when I think of Mutterseelenallein, I think that it's like an amplified version of being alone, or more like being alone or align. Align is more like an observation, and Mutterseelenallein also has already like, not a judgment, but like an emotional component in it. So
It's definitely stronger, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like if I think of it, it's like Mutterseelenallein. Obviously, there's this one first image of like you're alone in a forest. There's nobody to help you, but it doesn't have to be like this. It's like when I was preparing for the podcast, the first thing that came up in my mind, I wasn't alone standing somewhere. Well, I was technically feeling alone, but there were people around me. So the first time, it's years ago now, but like I finished my A-levels, I went to Ireland. My parents were like, "Oh, you have to start studying. You have to start doing something." I was like, "I don't know what I want to do."
You're like,
so
I have to go.
I have to go. So I packed my things. I just left Munich. I went to Ireland. Honestly, I arrived and I saw they speak Gaelic, like Irish. I was like, "What? Oh my God, my English is even terrible. How am I gonna survive here?" But I thought to myself, okay, I have to do it. Like, there's no way. Because my mom was like daily calling me, "Just come back, come back." I was like, "No, I really want to do this." It took me ages to find a job. I got fired on my first day, and I was standing alone on O'Connell Bridge, in Dublin, crying. Like publicly, because I was like, I don't know anybody here.
Yeah.
There's nobody I can call, because they all would tell me, "This what you're doing is insane. Come back. We pay your ticket. Just come back." And I'm so happy I didn't.
Yeah.
But like in that moment, I was standing there and I was literally, I've never felt so alone, because there was nobody who was supporting me in my crazy idea of like I wanted to improve my English. So I loved my time there. But like back then, in this specific moment, I was standing on the bridge. There were tons of people passing me. And I was looking at the river there, and it was just heartbreaking. It was like I was alone, completely alone.
Yeah.
Well, afterwards, I met amazing people still. I'm so happy that I did all of this.
Yeah.
When I was thinking of Mutterseelenallein, that was my first association.
I actually have two different ideas. I mean, first of all, I think Mutterseelenallein, Mutterseelenallein is more than just loneliness. It's isolation to me. I feel like it's like the actuality of having no one. It's almost like maybe someone, I think of like an orphan growing up without parents or something like that. That's what I associate with Mutterseelenallein. It's almost like you literally have no one you can turn to. So it's sort of like the amplification of loneliness. And I mean, I can relate to that because I lived in Australia for a year. Or 10 months, and then also in Texas after that. But so when I went abroad, it was the same situation. My parents really didn't want me to go, and they were trying everything they could to like prevent me from going, but I
I
did.
just thought like the same what my parents
Yeah.
thought. This crazy bitch, there's
Exactly,
no way
exactly.
she's not gonna survive, or
Exactly.
she's not gonna come back.
Yeah, exactly. Well, later I found out that like my mother didn't want me to go because she was like, he might not come back. So, but I'm a rebel. So I was like, I packed my stuff and I went to Australia, and then I arrived in Sydney at 5 a.m. in the morning, and I went to the opera house because everything was closed, and I realized I didn't know a single person. I didn't have a job. I didn't have accommodation. Well, I booked a hostel for 1 week. And then I was thinking, I sat like near the opera house and I was like, oh my God, what have you done? And then I felt alone, you know? I really did feel alone, but I didn't feel Mutterseelenallein. I didn't feel mother soul alone, but I can tell you when I felt mother soul alone. Like when I grew up as a gay man in the village that I grew up in Eastern Germany, I felt mother soul alone there because
Sorry, I was just like, the first thing that pops up in my mind is like Little Britain is like the one gay person in the village.
But that's exactly what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Because you know what? And that's why I'm saying isolation. Because to me, like growing up as a gay man in a village where like there was no representation, 10 years ago, I didn't see myself on TV. I felt culturally isolated. And that's when I felt alone because no one could understand me.
You also grew up in a small village close to Mannheim in Germany, right?
Yes, I did. So I can really relate to what you were saying. When you were growing up as a queer kid, not in the biggest city like Berlin, where we are now, you can feel very isolated and also maybe like you don't really belong to society, the world, I don't know.
Belonging, that's an interesting idea.
Yes. Because, as you said before, it doesn't really have anything to do with actually being alone.
Yeah.
More so with being isolated and not feeling like you can relate to anyone or open up to anyone.
Yeah, no, definitely. I would agree. Like, there's, again, we found a word that has so many interpretations, like so many ways of feeling alone, but it always has the sadness, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Always
Extreme
like
sadness.
Extreme sadness and extreme situations as well, because it's an extreme situation if you don't see yourself represented in the culture.
Yeah.
Obviously, this is something that just doesn't pass you. This is something that has a huge impact on you.
It's like you don't feel belonging. There's actually this TED talk about the 4 pillars of meaning, and then so the 4 things that create meaning in life, that make us, and this researcher, she says, she's a psychologist, I think, she says that belonging is one of the 4 main pillars. So without that, you would feel Mutterseelen, but that's such an existential thing that you need in your life, you know, to feel like belonging. And I guess maybe Mutterseelenallein is the opposite of that. Perhaps?
Yeah, one could say that.
I would agree. Definitely, it's like,
you know,
honestly, I couldn't even have said it better. Like,
thank you so much.
and that was the podcast. No, just kidding. Bye, that's it. No. So obviously, all of you, check out our blog. There's a full blog post just on this emotion, and I had this quote that I loved. So I gave to one of our artists, I gave to all the artists the word Mutterseelenallein, and they all gave me some descriptions, what they thought, what it might be, especially the ones who are not German, who don't know what it means. And
you gave them a literal translation.
I gave them a literal translation and said, just do whatever you want. Imagine the emotion. And funny enough, I gave them 3 words for preparation, just for the start. And everybody immediately had something with Mutterseelenallein, because I think it's just something alone. It
Yeah.
already says
Yeah.
everybody has felt alone. But it's interesting
Yeah.
to see the interpretations. And then one of the artists, Veronica, I will just quote what she wrote. I asked the question, how do you personally define the emotion behind the term Mutterseelenallein? And she wrote, as I don't know the original meaning, I suppose I took each English term relatively literally and used this as an opportunity to explore the relationship I have with my mother. Now that I'm an adult who hasn't just moved out of home, but to a country that's completely foreign to my mom, in many ways the transition is one of aloneness, as we're both becoming people who aren't identified by our relationship to each other, mother, daughter. However, our souls will always be connected in some way, regardless of how far apart we live or how frequently we talk. So while this almost certainly isn't most people's definition of this term, for me it's about the relationship I have with my mom, or maybe the relationship our souls have, now that we're growing into different individuals. So, and I just love the fact that she took the word, and obviously,
Literally.
because all our definitions, where did we talk about our mom? Well, we were joking about that she didn't want us to go away, but I love the
Actually,
idea.
yes. That's also interesting, because if we take this word apart into its components, right? We have like mother, soul, and alone. It's very interesting that it does sort of make us think about mothers and about the soul, right? So it's almost like this deeply felt feeling of loneliness, almost like being disconnected from our parents. Because here we are.
Yeah. Maybe you can even connect it to another funny German word that I don't know whether it exists in English. Urvertrauen.
Okay, now it gets interesting.
So maybe you feel Mutterseelenallein when you yourself lost your Urvertrauen.
Okay,
Okay,
now,
we need to translate this
translation.
and explain
Urvertrauen. Now you really got us. So
It's like Urvertrauen is like the original belonging, almost.
Yeah.
The original.
So literally,
faith
it was
in
like
things.
word for word. Vertrauen means trust. Urvertrauen,
faith.
it's like a original trust.
Yeah, it's the original
trust
faith,
that you
the
get,
original
yeah.
trust
Yes.
in things.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's usually associated with, I mean, I guess I learned that in school, so I suppose you guys learned that in school as well, that in your socialization, it's like when you're a baby and your parents take care of you, then that's where you get your Urvertrauen, because you're being cared for. And then people who don't have that, they lose it, and then they become mentally ill potentially at some point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's interesting. Do you feel mother soul alone when you don't have Urvertrauen?
Yeah, maybe, because I think you can be factually alone and don't feel alone.
Yeah.
Like when you have trust in yourself, in your skills, when you still feel comfortable.
Self-love.
Self-love. But if you are alone, you don't have anyone to, confide in, to connect to, and you lose the trust and faith in yourself.
You lose the connection with yourself, exactly.
Yeah, then
Your
you lost
Urvertrauen.
your Urvertrauen, and then...
Wow, that's interesting.
And then you're standing there, mother soul alone.
Yeah. It's almost like you feel mother soul alone when you lose yourself, because we also went to like different foreign countries, right? And then there, like that's almost like results in an identity crisis, because it's not the country where we come from, and then we don't have anything to fall back on. So then you feel lost in a space that is not even your own. So you lose everything that you hold on to, maybe. It's an identity crisis.
So deep.
Getting deep here.
Really deep. One of the reasons why I also wanted to invite or have both of you here is like we all have experiences with therapy, and that's also like moments where you end up being completely alone and you feel like, okay, I need help. Like there is nobody in my family I can turn to. Your mother's all alone. You need somebody who's just there and listens. I don't know, maybe get your Urvertrauen back, your trust in society, trust in people. People who like disappointed you, or maybe the problem is within yourself, and it's just both of you're so open also with your therapy. So I thought, like, were there situations where you would say, okay, mother soul alone, that's definitely a word that I can connect with?
My first instinct is like when I look in the past, maybe like 2 or 3 years ago, when I first moved to Berlin, I also felt like no one can really understand me. Like people can try, but I felt like there are a lot of things going on within myself that I don't even know how to express, and I didn't have like faith that people would actually completely get it. And I think some of these unresolved topics led me to considering therapy and then also finally doing therapy. So you can't just feel alone with yourself, but also with like certain thoughts or like worldviews.
Well, it is that, honestly.
So going to therapy really helped me understand myself better and also kind of helped me to express what was going on with me, what was actually moving me so much. And I think now after going to therapy, I'm much more able to specifically express these emotions, and therefore I can better connect with my friends, my family, and have these deep conversations and feel more connected and less Mutterseelenallein.
I don't think is it a nice feeling? Is it a...
Being Mutterseelenallein?
Do you want to... No, because like actually I was just... Another association I had was like this movie moment, this dramatic moment. Like I love telling my story where I was like mother soul alone on Ireland. It's one of my favorite stories. No, like when it's serious, because it was like always it's such, you're so deeply connected with your feelings in this moment. Like maybe it's just me being an emotion junkie. But also, like, sometimes sometimes everything is too much and I want just to be somewhere where it's just silent, and I would love to be sometimes in a forest where it's just me and no soul around. Not in a negative way, but it's just like sometimes I want this feeling.
But the question is, would you be lonely when you are? Because you would be with I don't think you would be lonely in that situation.
Let's be honest. I want 5 minutes, and I was like, I need somebody to talk. Can we just leave? But like those 5 minutes, those like movie moments where you're like standing on the top of the hill, and it's just like, I made it to the top of the hill, and now I feel mother soul alone. Had enough? Go down. But
that's the problem with mother soul alone. It's uncontrollable. It's like uncontrollable. And I agree with you, because like for me, when I went to therapy, so after graduating high school, I moved to Berlin for a year, worked on my English, went to Australia and Texas, came back and started studying. And then I was in a really dark place, and then I started therapy. And I had really great friends who stuck it out with me until the end. And now we're sitting here doing so much better. But I felt mother soul alone, even though I had friends, because I felt like no one could possibly understand what I'm going through. They cannot understand it, therefore I am alone. I am Mutterseelenallein, because if they cannot understand me, I can only help myself. No one else could possibly help me. And even though I had people around me that would, I mean, you always supported me and everything, but it didn't matter. I felt alone, as I had never felt before. So it's this huge disconnect to yourself and to everyone else.
Because I was just thinking, like in the English language, with no soul around, but why do we German have to add mother? I guess it's maybe just because it just emphasizes if you even have lost what you said with the
that's what I'm
connection.
saying.
If even your mother is gone, that's when you're
abandonment.
It's the ultimate abandonment of the world, like. And the Urvertrauen that you lose, the faith in this universe that you lose when like your parents abandon you, your mother. I guess that's also why Germans connected maybe to like Urvertrauen and like the mother, feeding the child, and like, I mean, it's the worst feeling. It's utter despair, in my opinion.
No, sorry, it's just so deep. And then I was thinking, no, sorry, no, I'm not crying anything. It's just so like, I was like thinking, okay, I want a picture in my head. I was like, a little puppy somewhere lost alone. It's like the puppy nobody wants. And that's horrible.
It's, this is actually perfect. I posted something on Instagram yesterday. There's this video that's big, like in all around the world. Every newspaper has posted this video of this boy who's trying to cross the border to the United States, coming from Nicaragua. He's 10 years old, without his parents. He's mother's alone because the group left him, and this border patrol officer finds him crying, asking him what's going on. He says like, I was abandoned, I'm afraid that someone's gonna kill me. And he's just literally walking there all on his own in the desert, and that is mother's soul alone. There's literally no one. And then he's thinking, and even on the other side, there are people who don't really want me, but I need to cross over. So that's mother's soul alone to me. It's a huge tragedy to me.
It is. But like, there we go again. We found a word. So many different angles, so many different emotions. I think I would love to stop with this podcast with just one sentence, each of you. How would you use it in a sentence? If I'm honest, I probably wouldn't even go that deep.
I would, in German, you know what I would say? I would refer to an orphan, like someone that was abandoned by his parents, grew up in an orphanage, and then had a really tough life, had to work for everything. And I would probably say, this boy was just mother's soul alone. And to me, it's the saddest feeling that I connect with it, But it's universally felt. Everyone knows what it is.
No, definitely. And you?
Yeah, I would maybe use it in the context of like moving out from home, going abroad, like making a huge change in your life and being in a completely new environment where you don't feel supported, you don't feel comfortable, you are alone, nobody knows you, you know nobody. Then I would say like, I don't know, I went abroad and when I stepped out of the airport, I felt mother's soul alone.
Yeah.
You know what I also find interesting? If this idea of mother's soul alone is actually connected to despair, then the opposite of despair is hope. So meaning, but you can only have hope if you can foresee a future, like envision a future that's better. So if you can't see the future anymore, like if you, for example, move somewhere else and you have no clue what's going to happen, you don't have hope anymore, then you maybe also feel alone. I don't know, just an idea.
No.
Just putting it out there.
Just putting it out there.
Every idea is valid, and that's why it's important to talk about emotions, because again, we all have different interpretations. Some are like deeper, some are just superficial, like mine. No. But you know what I get. So the good thing is we are not mother's soul alone. We have each other.
Find your people.
And you,
find yourself.
Wonderful, beautiful people who are listening to us, you're also not alone. You have us talking to you. So, and if you want to know other perspectives or like different artists, how they dealt with this emotion, I really want you to go to our blog and check out all the amazing art that they all created just for you.
I have one more epiphany.
Okay.
You know the show Queer Eye on Netflix? In this one episode, Jonathan Van Ness says to I think he's doing this person's hair, and he says, how can you expect to have like relationships with other people, with friends and family, good relationships, or your partner, if you don't have a relationship with yourself?
Self-love, guys.
And that's the idea. Like, you need to start with yourself first in order not to feel alone.
True. I couldn't have said it better. And that's how we end our podcast here. Thank you so much for listening. Thank you for you two joining me.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for not letting me recording this Mother's Soul alone. So, and thank you.
Bye.